You can have your
Main event of the evening.
ready to race to you.
These days are
Hello and welcome to These Days Are Ours, a Happy Days podcast. I'm Peter.
And I'm Joe.
And today we are discussing the third in a trilogy of bombs that Garry Marshall made. It's The Other Sister.
Okay, Peter, tell us what happens in The Other Sister.
At a school for people with disabilities, a young woman named Carla Tate bids farewell to Dr. Johnson.
We talked about this. Now you're ready to go home, right? You're ready to go home.
And is picked up by her father, Radley. They fly back to San Francisco, home to Carla's well-off WASP family. In a flashback, we see Radley and Carla's mother, Elizabeth, argue over their daughter's learning disability and whether or not to send her to the school from the opening.
We have to send her there, Radley. We don't have a choice, all right?
Carla reunites with Elizabeth, her sisters Caroline and Heather, and housekeeper Winnie for the first time in years. She also meets Jeff, Caroline's fiancé.
My name is Jeff.
Over dinner, Carla asks if Caroline and Jeff have done it yet. Over coffee afterwards, Carla expresses interest in continuing her schooling to become a veterinary assistant. After a flashback to pushing a boy calling her stupid down a flight of stairs,
Damn it!
Carla returns to her childhood bedroom, which Elizabeth redecorated. Carla misses her old things, but Elizabeth insists she has to grow up.
Carla, why are your eyes closed?
I'm remembering my old room.
The next day, Carla is trying to play tennis, a socially acceptable hobby for young women according to Elizabeth, and not having much success. They go shoe shopping, where Elizabeth won't let Carla get the shoes she likes. At a charity benefit for an animal rescue charity run by one of Elizabeth's friends, Carla causes a scene by barking at a dog and then letting all of the strays go.
Who let the dogs out? Who let those dogs out? Who let those little mutts go? Yeah.
Carla runs away from home back to the school in the night and gets picked up by the police. Elizabeth and Radley go after her, and Elizabeth learns that Carla thinks she's smothering her and wants to attend Bay Area Polytechnic. Dr. Johnson advises them to let her do it, in spite of Elizabeth's misgivings. On Carla's first day of school, she signs up for classes. When another student with a learning disability, Daniel McMahon, has a spot taken by two others, she helps him out.
You're next in line.
In her first computer class, a girl attempts to hit on her professor. After a school football game, Carla and Daniel meet again, and he invites her to get a meal. They go to a bar in the bus station, and afterwards he shows her around the station. She also learns about his job of picking marshmallows that students throw into the marching band tuba at football games.
I get to keep lots of marshmallows.
Your job pays you in marshmallows.
He has another job that actually pays, making cookies at a bakery, and his own apartment. On Carla's birthday, she tells Elizabeth she wants her own apartment, but Elizabeth is dismissive.
Oh, Carla, you don't know what you're saying.
Yes, I do.
Carla runs off. Heather and Caroline are more supportive and suggest holding a vote, but Elizabeth insists that Carla isn't capable of living on her own, and this is the best way to protect her. The argument turns to Radley's recovery from alcoholism, which is interrupted by Winnie. Elizabeth rejoins Radley on his boat, and they decide to give Carla a chance at independence. As they look for an apartment, Carla and Elizabeth have a talk outside where Carla recounts various sex talks she had at school, and Elizabeth warns her against boys taking advantage of her.
You remember no, stop, and you don't forget your pepper spray.
Carla visits Daniel's apartment, where he shows her his collection of marching band music, and introduces her to Ernie, his landlord.
This is Ernie. He's a painter, and he's a musician.
Well, art, painting, music, and volume control manager.
Meanwhile, Elizabeth and her lawyer look for apartments, and Elizabeth defends Carla's ability to live on her own to him. Carla and Daniel watch The Graduate, and Daniel asks her to be his girlfriend. Carla decides to think about it. Having found an apartment, Carla tells Daniel the good news.
I got my own apartment. Nobody lives there but me. And I moved there in 2 weeks. Hooray!
He invites her to the Halloween dance at school, and Elizabeth helps her practice some dances. On Halloween, Carla, in an elaborate swan costume, prepares for Daniel to pick her up, but Elizabeth is taken aback to learn that he's Carla's boyfriend. When they get to school, Carla goes to see her first quarter grades, and is delighted to learn that she's passing. Daniel is less happy to see that he's failing, and begins to cry. She comforts him.
At my special school, they taught us that first you learn the easy courses.
And they have their first kiss. Carla moves into her apartment, where Elizabeth is a little overzealous in placing fire extinguishers. Carla learns that Daniel might have to move back to Florida because his father no longer wants to support him due to failing his classes.
I have to go because I only make $350 a month, and my rent's $500 a month.
Back in Daniel's apartment, Carla and Daniel start to get aroused while kissing, and they discuss having sex. Daniel tells Carla he loves her. Carla wants Daniel to move in with her, but Elizabeth, thinking Daniel is a gold digger, is opposed to it. But Radley convinces her it's entirely innocent.
A crush. That's all it is.
Then Carla and Daniel research positions in the joy of sex. They decide to have sex on Thanksgiving because it's a holiday, and holidays are special. They do indeed have sex on Thanksgiving to the sounds of 76 trombones. After an upsetting phone call with his father, Daniel goes out and gets drunk. Luckily for him, Ernie is there to bring him inside and listen to his troubles when he gets home.
Forget drinking, forget all that stuff. You gotta find what makes you happy, Danny. What makes you happy?
On Christmas Eve, Heather chews Elizabeth out for not accepting her homosexuality and her girlfriend Michelle. The family goes to the country club, along with Daniel as Carla's date. Jeff gives a speech about his upcoming wedding to Caroline, and Daniel, drunk, interrupts to give his own speech where he announces that he and Carla had sex on Thanksgiving. Everyone begins laughing, humiliating Carla.
They're all gonna laugh at you!
Outside, she demands to know why Daniel did that. She calls him stupid and says she never wants to see him again. Daniel shouts back that he never wants to see her again either. The Tates prepare for Caroline's wedding, but Heather is upset at attending another family function without Michelle, and Carla misses Daniel.
I wish I could see him again just for a little second to tell him that I don't hate him.
On the train to Florida, Daniel discusses the graduate with another passenger, and while describing the wedding scene, leaves the train to return to Carla. While Carla, Heather, and Caroline have their bachelorette party, Daniel hitchhikes back. He arrives at the church during Caroline and Jeff's ceremony, and he and Carla reunite. Daniel proposes to her, and she accepts. Elizabeth interrupts to get the wedding back on track.
I'm so terribly sorry for this flight inconvenience, but you know how children will be sometimes.
At the reception, Carla brings up planning her wedding, but Elizabeth thinks she's being naive. Carla angrily runs off, and Elizabeth follows. Carla accuses her mother of never looking at her, and says there are a lot of things she can't do, but she can love. And it doesn't matter if her mother doesn't like Daniel, or doesn't come to her wedding or help plan it.
Carla, I just don't think that he can take care of you! He can barely take care of himself!
We can take care of each other!
Carla plans her wedding on her own, inviting friends from school and her entire family, except for Elizabeth. The wedding is small but happy. Carla and Daniel come up with their own vows, right there, on the spot. Afterwards, Elizabeth shows up just in time, and welcomes Daniel to the family. She also meets Michelle for the first time. As Carla and Daniel drive away, a marching band plays 76 trombones.
Thank you, Peter. That was The Other Sister. It was released on Friday, February 26th, 1999. Although not as unsuccessful as Exit to Eden and Dear God, The Other Sister still failed to recoup its entire $35 million budget during its initial theatrical run. It also received largely negative reviews and was nominated for a Razzie Award. The Other Sister opened on the same day as the crime thriller 8mm, starring Nicolas Cage.
She had no name
I need information. I thought you might be able to help.
until he uncovered the truth.
The film is real.
The big new releases that month were Payback, Message in a Bottle, My Favorite Martian, and Blast from the Past. Peter, do any of those movies appeal to you?
8mm sounds fun. I love Nicolas Cage. I enjoy some of Joel Schumacher's work. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
I still have not gotten around to that movie, but I did see Payback in the theater for some reason. I don't remember why. The Other Sister was directed by Garry Marshall. This film brought Garry back to Disney, where he had made Beaches and Pretty Woman. The studio must have had doubts about The Other Sister, however, since February is a traditionally slow time for movies. His next movie is going to be co-produced by Disney and Paramount, and I think Disney let Garry make this movie, The Other Sister, so that he would make the next one.
One for you, one for me.
The Other Sister was written by Garry Marshall and Bob Brunner, based on a story that Marshall and Brunner created with Alexandra Rose and Blair Richwood. Neither Alexandra nor Blair is known as a writer. Alexandra Rose is a producer who had worked with Garry on Nothing in Common, Overboard, Frankie and Johnny, and Exit to Eden. Her non-Garry Marshall credits include Quigley Down Under.
Matthew Quigley.
Matthew Quigley.
Matthew Quigley.
Blair Richwood was Garry Marshall's secretary and personal assistant in the 80s and 90s. She worked with him on Nothing in Common, Overboard, Beaches, and Pretty Woman. She now owns her own firm, Richwood Script and Media, in Los Angeles. And once again, Peter, I feel like Bob Brunner was maybe a bad influence on the script because it's often derided as being sitcom-like or sitcom-ish. What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Bob. As for the music in The Other Sister, the score for The Other Sister is by Rachel Portman.
Portman. Your husband and his best friend just a sportman.
an extremely accomplished British film composer who's been working since the early 1980s. She won an Oscar for the 1996 film Emma, becoming the first female composer to win that award. Rachel's other credits include
The Vow, Chocolat, The Lake House, The Manchurian Candidate, Mona Lisa Smile, The Legend of Bagger Vance, Grey Gardens, and many more.
Peter, any thoughts on the score?
I think the score is one of the better aspects of the movie. It's not saccharine the way a lot of the rest of the movie is, and it's not overly zany the way a lot of music from comedies from this era can be. It's not enough to save the movie, but it could have been so much worse.
It's tastefully understated, I will say. During a montage of Carla driving Elizabeth crazy, we literally hear She Drives Me Crazy by the Fine Young Cannibals. The movie does stuff like this all the time. When Daniel and Carla make love for the first time, they do so to the strains of 76 Trombones, a show tune written by Meredith Willson for the 1957 stage musical The Music Man. This song is later performed after the couple's wedding. Daniel drunkenly sings If You're Happy and You Know It.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
And that marks 2 times in a row that we've heard that song because it was the Cal Worthington jingle last time. When Danny returns to Carla, we hear a remake of Mrs. Robinson by the Lemonheads. This cover version was a surprise hit in 1992 and was added to the Lemonheads album It's a Shame About Ray, much to the irritation of frontman Evan Dondo.
Now that's a name I've not heard in a long time.
We hear 2 versions of At Last, one by Hector Elizondo, complete with Spanish guitar.
At last, my love has come on.
And one by Joan Osborne. And who would have guessed, Peter, that we would be getting a second Joan Osborne song in one of these movies?
It was very big in the 90s.
Although I wanted to hear a little bit more of Hector's version of the song. I thought it sounded really nice with the Spanish guitar.
It was really pretty and understated.
Other songs heard in the film include
The Battle Hymn of the Republic by the Salvation Army Band, The Animal Song by Savage Garden, that was the single that was used to promote the movie and it got a music video, Columbia, the Gem of the Ocean from Daniel's marching band album, Yankee Doodle and America the Beautiful by the Dixieland Band, I thought they sounded really nice, Walkin' Blues by the Royal Crown Review, that's when Carla has half her face made up, I Feel the Earth Move by Carole King, and You Made Me Love You by Patsy Cline, that's during the dance lesson sequence, Me by Paula Cole, When You Say Nothing at All by Alison Krauss, I'm Free by the Soup Dragons, when Carla is feeling free, I'm Sensitive by Jewel, when Carla is feeling sensitive, Deck the Halls, Baby I'm Yours, and Silent Night, all performed by the Christmas Carolers, and I think there is one of those songs that Christmas Carolers should not be the ones singing, Loving You Is All I Know by the Pretenders, and of course Mendelssohn's Wedding March.
Of those songs I just mentioned, did any of those stand out to you?
The Animal Song is an interesting case where it's kind of supposed to be about the characters in the movie, but it's much better if you pretend that it's not. It's about how the person of the song is from the perspective of who wants to be free, like the animals are. I feel like in regards to disabled characters, that can be kind of problematic, but I like it much better if I imagine it's about werewolves, so that's what I do. Also, in regards to Savage Garden, I have to mention that apparently they were offered the choice of doing a song for this or the next movie, and they picked this one, and Darren Hayes quipped that they picked the one that bombed.
You played your cards wrong. You backed the wrong pony.
Also, Savage Garden got their name from a quote from The Vampire Chronicles by our old friend Anne Rice.
This movie chooses songs that tell you exactly what the characters are feeling or thinking or doing. She Drives Me Crazy, I'm Free, I'm Sensitive. The movie does not let you figure out anything on your own.
It's a very hand-holding movie.
When they were going to play Baby I'm Yours, I thought, oh, we're going to hear the Barbara Lewis R&B song from the 60s. And no, the frickin' Christmas carolers come out and sing it. I was like, what?
Jeff says it's his and Caroline's song. Like, come on.
Play the real one. Don't bring the Christmas carolers out. As for our main cast, we'll start with Juliette Lewis as Carla Tate.
I'm gonna be a veterinarian's assistant.
Juliette is an actress from Los Angeles who has been working in film and television since the mid-1980s. Her father was prolific character actor Jeffrey Lewis. As a child, Juliette was a regular on the sitcom I Married Dora, which I actually watched, guested on The Facts of Life and The Wonder Years, and appeared in My Stepmother is an Alien and National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Her Oscar-nominated role in Martin Scorsese's Cape Fear in 1991 made her one of the hottest actresses of the decade. She went on to films like
Natural Born Killers, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, California, Romeo is Bleeding, and Strange Days.
At the time of this movie, she had just been through a much-publicized stint in rehab, so Garry Marshall had to put up the money to insure her for this production.
I consider that money lost, and now you're asking for another $20 million.
In recent years, you could have seen Juliette in such series as
Yellow Jackets, Queer as Folk, Sacred Lies, and much more.
But Peter, what did you think of Juliette Lewis as Carla Tate?
Many observations and criticisms and jokes have been made about the way that Hollywood likes to make these maudlin movies about disabled people and cast abled actors in those roles, and how their portrayals of disabled people tend to be bad and offensive. And yeah, that is the case here. This is a lot of acting. Watching it, I kept being reminded of Joaquin Phoenix in Joker, which is another role that is a lot of acting that never lets you forget that you are watching someone doing a lot of acting, and it's kind of obnoxious for that reason.
For me, watching this performance was almost like watching a minstrel show. That's how cringy and embarrassing I thought it was. For me, this is not even proper screen acting. This is sketch comedy acting. And I will point people towards an episode of Mr. Show with Bob and David called Peanut Butter, Eggs, and Dice, which contains a big section about actors playing mentally handicapped characters in order to win awards in Hollywood. They show you an example of such a film.
I'm strong, like the Hulk.
And an awards ceremony that the actors might attend.
It's been a big, brave year for us as actors.
That will tell you everything that you need to know about this kind of performance. We move on now to Diane Keaton as Elizabeth Tate.
I mean, it's so good to hear someone's actually using their college education.
Diane is an Oscar-winning actress from Los Angeles who has been appearing in films and TV shows since the early 1970s. After some early guest roles on Night Gallery, Love American Style, The FBI, and Mannix, she broke through as Kay in the film adaptation of The Godfather in 1972. She then began a career-long association with director Woody Allen. Their films together include
Love and Death, Sleeper, Annie Hall, Interiors, Manhattan, and many more.
Diane's other major movies include
Looking for Mr. Goodbar, Baby Boom, Father of the Bride, The First Wives Club,
Something's Gotta Give, Marvin's Room, and literally dozens more.
Peter, what did you think of Diane Keaton as Elizabeth Tate?
So Diane Keaton was the first actress cast in this movie, and I can see why. She's playing a character that is supposed to be this woman who's like simultaneously loving, but also kind of stuck in her ways, who's doing what she thinks is right to protect her children, but maybe might just be trying to protect herself. The character is just so bizarrely and inconsistently written that she just ends up coming across as kind of awful, and even Diane Keaton doing her best Diane Keatoning really can't save this role.
Absolutely not. Every time Elizabeth was on screen, I'm sorry to say this, but I wanted a nuclear bomb to fall on her. I hated this character. I hated spending time with Elizabeth Tate. Roger Ebert says something fascinating about this character in his review.
Every once in a while, she has a brief moment of humanity, in which she softens and says sensible things like, I'll try to see it your way. These interludes play suspiciously as if they were inserted into the script to lighten the character and make her less of a harridan. Then it's back to bullheaded denial again.
I don't think she ever really learns not to be homophobic to Heather. Yeah, she meets Heather's girlfriend at the end of the movie, but that's because Carla invited her to the wedding, not her.
I don't think Elizabeth learns much in this movie. Just a terrible, terrible character. I don't hate Diane Keaton normally, but Diane Keaton's performance is so mannered here that it made the character even more irritating to me. We also have Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt.
As Radley Tate.
Do not speak to me that way in front of the children. And we are both responsible for putting Carla in that place.
Tom is an actor from Detroit whose rugged good looks have earned him leading and supporting roles in film and television since the early 1960s after his stint in the Air Force. People may remember Tom best as Duke in the movie MASH or as Viper in Top Gun. I first knew him as Evan Drake on Cheers and as Strawberry in Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke. Tom's most famous movies include
Alien, Ted, Contact, The Dead Zone, Harold and Maude, Steel Magnolias, and A River Runs Through It.
On TV, you could have seen him on
Law & Order SVU, The West Wing, The Good Wife, Will and Grace, Leverage, and much more.
What did you think of Tom Skerritt as Radley Tate in this movie?
He's fine, I guess. Throughout the movie, he's positioned as like the more understanding figure compared to Elizabeth. He's generally supportive of Carla going to Polytechnic school and getting her own apartment. And he's got his own thing where he's a recovering alcoholic. But I don't know, he just kind of phases to the background for a lot of this movie to me, which maybe is for the best. You don't really want to be the most memorable part of a movie like this.
Tom wisely does not try to stand out too much here. He says his lines competently. I wanted him to fall off the wagon in this movie where he's just guzzling bottles of white wine in every scene just to get through them. But nothing like that happens. But the drinking was the most realistic thing about the character, because how else do you manage to stay in this family for decades unless you are intoxicated most of the time?
Every time we step out of the house, you get dead drunk. When you're married to a nag, a man's gotta drink.
We also have Giovanni Ribisi as Daniel McMahon.
She's my girlfriend.
Giovanni is yet another Los Angeles actor in this cast. Like Juliette Lewis, he came from a showbiz family, started as a child star in the 1980s, and has been working ever since. Early in his career, he guested on
Highway to Heaven, The Twilight Zone, Simon & Simon, Married with Children, Blossom, and more.
He landed a recurring role on The Wonder Years in 1992. That's where I first saw him, and started getting film roles in the mid-1990s. His best-known movies include
Avatar, Saving Private Ryan, Lost in Translation, Public Enemies, Lost Highway, Ted, A Million Ways to Die in the West, and The Virgin Suicides.
Giovanni's TV work includes a famous recurring role as Frank Buffet Jr. on Friends, plus roles on The X-Files, Entourage, and too many more to name. Peter, what did you think of Giovanni Ribisi as Danny McMahon?
Everything that I said about Juliette Lewis as Carla applies to Giovanni Ribisi as Daniel as well. I guess they decided to have both characters have a learning disability to avoid implications of him taking advantage of her, like Elizabeth brings up. But that means you have two actors doing performances like that in this movie for a lot of the movie.
This movie is really remarkable in that it contains not one, not two, but three of my least favorite screen performances of all time. Juliette was the first, Diane Keaton is the second, and Giovanni Ribisi is the third. We also, of course, have Hector Elizondo as Ernie.
Come now, I've told you time and time again, don't play the music so loud.
Hector has no noticeable ethnicity in this one. It should be noted that Dear God and The Other Sister were made during the years that Hector was starring on the medical drama Chicago Hope. What did you think of Hector this time around?
Once again, he is playing a kind fatherly figure. He has a nice little scene where he takes care of Daniel when Daniel is drunk and depressed over his father sending him back to Florida. He does not embarrass himself, which is more than you can say for a lot of people in this movie.
I thought that Hector was one of the bright spots in The Other Sister. I looked forward to his few scenes in the movie. I almost wish we'd gotten more with him, and I liked his song at the wedding. We also have Sarah Paulson as Heather Tate.
I think that she has tried very hard to show that she's a responsible person.
Sarah is a highly acclaimed TV, stage, and film actress from Tampa, Florida, who is well known for her roles on such shows as
American Crime Story, American Horror Story, Feud, Ratched, American Gothic, Jack and Jill, and others.
Her movies include
Bird Box, Glass, What Women Want, 12 Years a Slave, Carol, and more.
Her stage work includes a Broadway revival of The Glass Menagerie. Over the course of her career, Sarah has won an Emmy, a Golden Globe, and a Tony. But what did you think of Sarah Paulson as Heather Tate in this movie?
I love Sarah Paulson. I've loved her since I saw her in Down with Love. But during the scene where she is confronting Elizabeth over her not accepting her as a lesbian, all I could think of was the scene in For Your Consideration where Parker Posey is playing an actress who is playing a lesbian in a movie, and she's confronting her mother over not accepting her girlfriend Mary Pat. The way that it comes up is kind of strange. It doesn't come up at all for like the first half or so of the movie, and then there's a scene where Elizabeth and Radley are on Radley's boat, and Elizabeth mentions that one of her daughters is a gay workaholic, and then in a later scene, Heather brings up Michelle for the first time, and that's her thing for the rest of the movie. It's nice that they wanted to bring up familial homophobia, but it fits in weirdly with the rest of the movie. It's not really given that much space, and it's just very strange, and it makes Elizabeth look even worse.
When I saw Sarah Paulson's name in the opening credits of The Other Sister, I was very encouraged because I love Sarah Paulson. I think she is largely squandered in this subplot that really adds nothing to The Other Sister other than to muddy the waters a little bit. This was almost a criminal misuse of Sarah Paulson's talent. We also have Poppy Montgomery as Caroline Tate.
Come on, I'm not teaching second grade because I happen to like children,
Poppy is an Australian actress who's been working in TV and film since the mid-1990s. Her movies include
Life, Devil in a Blue Dress, and Dead Man on Campus.
Her TV credits include
Without a Trace, Unforgettable, NYPD Blue, Party of Five, and Silk Stockings.
Any thoughts, Peter, on Poppy Montgomery as Caroline Tate?
I'd say that she's another character who just kind of fades into the background, in spite of the fact that her wedding is a major catalyst for the plot. She feels more like a plot device than a character, I think it's fair to say.
Right.
Yeah, no disrespect to Poppy Montgomery, but that's how the character ends up feeling.
This is a nothing character, but I was really rooting for Caroline to get her wedding done with without it being interrupted or ruined. And she doesn't get that because Carla and Danny make this wedding all about themselves and we're supposed to love them for it. This is Caroline's day. Just let her have this hour of her life. But no.
Let her marry her boyfriend whose job is extracting oil from other countries, I guess.
Translation, finding the big bucks in tiny little countries whose names you can't pronounce.
Wow.
I feel like they didn't really go into how evil his job is.
Why did they add that in the movie? That makes you hate the character the first time you meet him. And then are we supposed to be rooting for them to get married now? Because this guy is pretty blatantly evil. And I thought, oh, are they leading up to something with that? They're not. It just leads to nothing.
He's like if the evil fake-out boyfriend in a romantic comedy just got to marry the protagonist and the real love interest just never showed up.
I don't know. Maybe he shows up like a half hour after the movie ended. As for our cultural and historical references in The Other Sister, Carla and Danny attend the fictional Bay Area Polytechnic. These scenes were filmed at Long Beach Polytechnic in Long Beach, California. The school's alumni include Cameron Diaz and Snoop Dogg. By the way, that huge bunny mural painted on the wall depicts the school's actual mascot, the jackrabbit. A student in Carla's computer class says she didn't know the difference between ROM, RAM, bits, and bytes. A bit is the smallest unit of digital data. A byte is composed of 8 bits.
8 bits.
4 bits. 2 bits. 1 bit.
ROM and RAM are 2 different kinds of computer memory, read-only memory and random access memory. RAM is for active data and programs that you are changing and updating, while ROM is for fixed instructions like your computer's startup system or the data encoded on a CD-ROM. I was wondering what this computer class scene was doing in the movie because it turns into this very inappropriate flirtation between the student and the teacher.
Do you give private lessons?
And then Carla later tries to imitate that in front of the mirror.
Do you give private lessons?
I guess Carla's sexuality is a theme of the movie, given that it's about her coming of age, but that was weird. Why have that?
I have no idea. What is her classmate trying to do here? Aren't you just trying to learn computers? Daniel and Carla's last names are McMahon and Tate. McMahon and Tate was the name of the advertising firm on Bewitched.
McMahon and Tate, good morning. Oh, yes, Mr. Tate, he's right here.
Daniel takes Carla to the Falcon Bar. This is yet another Falcon reference in Garry Marshall's filmography. The woman Daniel identifies as the Black Widow.
Don't ever play pool with her, because she'll beat you. They call her the Black Widow.
Is Jeanette Lee, a real-life pool player from Brooklyn, whose nickname comes from both her all-black wardrobe and her deadly skill with a pool cue. She has won numerous tournaments in her career and also acts as a legal representative. I wondered why we kept getting shots of the Black Widow through this movie because she doesn't figure into the plot at all, but I was glad to have her there because I wanted the movie to give up on Danny and Carla and just follow the Black Widow around for a while.
Yeah. Yes, she is so cool. She doesn't do anything, but she is so cool.
Daniel says he travels by bus to see various marching bands. He mentions UCLA, Stanford, and Western Pacific State. UCLA and Stanford are well known for their bands, but Western Pacific State is fictional. Aww. Heather and Caroline say their mother will always think of them as being 10 and 12, and they call themselves Marcia and Jan. For the record, when the Brady Bunch debuted in 1969, Maureen McCormick was 13 and Eve Plum was 11. So another sitcom reference in the movie. The whole birthday party scene is so badly staged and written. It didn't seem like it was based on real human behavior. First off, what are they getting, Carla? All these giant boxes of nothing? Like, what is that? And then she just walks off, and none of that scene felt real to me. Elizabeth and Carla have their extremely public sex talk at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, originally built in 1915 to showcase great works of art during an international exposition. Specifically, we see the open rotunda and the lagoon. Even though I did not like this scene because of the way it was written and acted, I did appreciate getting to see the Palace of Fine Arts. It looks like a great place.
Oh, yeah.
Carla declares herself a fan of such blues legends as Muddy Waters and Billie Holiday. Jazz singer Billie Holiday drank herself to death in 1959 at the age of 44. Blues musician Muddy Waters, whose real name was McKinley Morganfield, died of cancer and heart disease in 1983. He was 70.
He was 70 degrees.
Carla mentions one particular song by Billie Holiday, Come Rain or Come Shine. It was written in 1946 for the musical St. Louis Woman by Harold Arlen and Johnny Mercer. Billie recorded it on her 1955 album, Music for Torching.
Come rain or come shine.
But it's been covered by many artists, including Ray Charles and Judy Garland.
I'm not really sure what it's doing in this movie, but yeah, it's nice to hear it. Maybe not the way she performs it.
Danny shows Carla his favorite movie, The Graduate. a comedy from 1967 starring Dustin Hoffman and based on a 1963 novella by Charles Webb. The film tells the story of Benjamin Braddock, a confused recent college graduate who has an affair with an older married woman, Mrs. Robinson, and then falls in love with that woman's daughter, Elaine. Toward the end of The Other Sister, Danny recreates the famous finale of The Graduate, interrupting Caroline's wedding just as Benjamin interrupted Elaine's wedding. I feel that the makers of The Other Sister completely missed the point of The Graduate.
Yeah, the actual ending of The Graduate is famously Benjamin and Elaine staring into the distance as they realize, okay, what now?
That doesn't seem like a happy ending. That seems more like a detached tale of modern alienation.
And that does not come up in this movie at all.
Carla and Danny study The New Joy of Sex by Alex Comfort. Comfort was a British scientist, physician, and anarchist who originally published his best-selling illustrated sex manual, The Joy of Sex, A Gourmet Guide to Lovemaking, in 1971. The sequels, More Joy of Sex and The New Joy of Sex, followed in 1974 and 1991, respectively. Comfort died in 2000 at the age of 80. Now here, Peter, is where the research really pays off, because I tracked down The New Joy of Sex by Alex Comfort.
Oh, good for you! And how was it?
Carla says she approves of pages 39 and 84, but not page 155. Daniel then suggests page 146. Surprisingly, these page numbers all correspond to real illustrations in the book. Page 39 simply depicts a couple expressing tenderness by kissing and embracing while nude. Page 84 also depicts a nude couple kissing. The infamous page 155, the one that Carla didn't want to do, shows a couple demonstrating Chinese-style lovemaking, that's the book's term, not my term, in which the man lies on his back and the woman crouches over him facing backwards in what looks like an uncomfortable position for her. Page 146 shows a man lying on top of a woman, which is why Carla asks Daniel how much he weighs.
It's such a weird scene. Who does that? Who checks out The Joy of Sex to learn about sex? I don't know how available pornography was at the time, but also, people just do it if they get the urge to do it.
Get a little tipsy and do what comes natural, what do you say?
It is a good idea to do research, but also not in the way that they are doing it, so to speak.
Carla asks Daniel who thought up sex in the first place, and Daniel answers Madonna. This line has been used against the movie in multiple reviews, including Roger Ebert's, but it's also used in some of the trailers. At the time, Daniel was probably referring to the fact that Madonna had released a coffee table book called Sex in 1992.
Filled with erotic pictures of Madonna. It had the desired effect. It got attention.
It's like they forgot that Daniel is still supposed to be an adult, and no adult would say that. That's the kind of thing a little kid would say.
Danny is very much written with a 9-year-old's mentality. Carla and Elizabeth briefly discuss the paintings of Dutch artist Johannes Vermeer, with Carla expressing her admiration for the Lace Baker from 1670 and Girl with a Red Hat from 1669. Carla herself wears a red hat later in the film, as does Elizabeth. What I will say here is that the hats of The Other Sister are atrocious. This movie has more heinous hats than I've ever seen in one movie. Not only does Carla have a terrible hat, Elizabeth seems to have a whole closet of bad hats, these poofy berets that she wears. Oh, I hated those hats.
Yeah, in describing the aesthetic of this movie, it's terrible hats and a lot of beige.
Carla and Elizabeth also watch an episode of the BBC documentary series Sister Wendy's Grand Tour, in which a British Catholic nun travels the world to examine various art treasures.
For over 20 years, I've led a life of solitude and prayer. Now, for the first time in my life, I'm going to Europe.
The series was a massive success in England and then was rebroadcast on PBS in America starting in 1997. I can still remember when Sister Wendy Mania hit America.
That was very much before my time, but that does sound like something that would become incredibly popular. Like, that is such a quirky premise, it kind of had to.
Heather says her favorite song is Michelle Ma Belle. The song's name is actually just Michelle, and it appears on the Beatles' 1965 album Rubber Soul. When Daniel mentions Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate to another passenger on the train, the man says, "Is that the one where he's in the dress or the one with the camels?" That passenger is referring to Tootsie from 1982 and Ishtar from 1987. And I have ridden a lot of Amtrak trains in my life, and I've had conversations with strangers on the Amtrak trains, and that is very accurate to the kind of conversations that you might have. I thought that whole sequence was an Amtrak product placement.
There are worse things to product place. In the bachelorette party scene that's happening at the same time, there is a very noticeable shot of a package of Oreos that made me laugh.
The Oreo thing is unmistakable. Sarah Paulson does her impression of Flipper. the highly intelligent bottlenose dolphin who has been appearing in films and television since 1963. There have now been 3 movies and 3 television series about this remarkable dolphin, though the franchise has been dormant since 2005. I was almost going to say it's time to revive Flipper, but then I thought, no, I don't think it's time to revive Flipper because I imagine playing Flipper is not fun for the dolphin.
Yeah, and especially given recent scrutiny placed on places like SeaWorld and the way that performing animals are abused there, maybe not. Maybe if it was like a cartoon or something, but yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Do it as an animated series or an animated movie and bring in Sarah Paulson to do the voice of Flipper. I would see that. When Danny tries to blend in among the bridesmaids, someone from off-screen says, "This is just like Where's Waldo?" He's referring to an incredibly successful line of illustrated puzzle books for children by British artist Martin Handford that started in 1987. In England, the character is known as Wally, but he has different names in different countries. The idea, of course, is to find the title character in a crowd.
Greetings! Heard about my new SpaghettiOs pasta shapes?
You're in SpaghettiOs?
New Where's Waldo SpaghettiOs!
Peter, were there any outstanding Garry Marshall fashions in The Other Sister?
The all-red pantsuit hat combo that Diane Keaton wears to Carla's wedding at the end. It's bad. It's so bad. It's eye-searing. No. Oh God. Was the costume department playing a cruel trick on her? No, it's awful. I was laughing my ass off.
I hated the red rain hat that they put on Carla because it looked like the kind of thing that a child would wear. I believe that contributes to infantilizing the character by giving her that dumb red rain hat. Peter, did you have any other observations you wanted to make about The Other Sister?
During the She Drives Me Crazy montage, there's a very creepy scene with a foot fetishist shoe salesman who tries to hit on Carla. I don't know why that was there. He's just there for that one scene, and then he disappears from the movie. Is he still working there? Is he still perving on women who go in there to buy shoes?
Oh, this is something he does every day on the job. So, Peter, I will ask that age-old, timeless question. Was this movie any good?
I think we've gone over many of the reasons why it is not. So I'm just going to say that you can't have a movie that ends with 2 weddings in a row. That should be illegal. So much of this movie should be illegal. I appreciate the sentiment that this is about Carla becoming more independent, learning to live alone, and having a romantic relationship and going to school. But other than that, the way that the movie treats her and Daniel as like these figures of cute sayings, it's very kids say the darndest things, and it's creepy and unpleasant, and I hated it from start to finish. It's full of these weird, unrealistic details that do not make sense in the real world. Like the flashback near the beginning, where like she pushes the boy down the stairs who was following her and harassing her. Who was he? How did he get in their house? Was he there to play with one of her sisters? Was he a kid from school who just followed her home because he's just that dedicated to bullying? What is going on?
That's what I thought. Somebody had taped the "follow stupid" sign on Carla's back, and he was just committing to the bit so hard that he went into her house. Now, speaking of that kid, I thought this would have been my pitch for the script. Imagine that as a child, Carla had pushed that kid down the stairs, and he had either broken his neck or he had become paralyzed. That would be very dark, but it would add some real stakes to the script, and it would explain why, after a legal brouhaha, Carla was sent away to a school that was so far away that the parents have to take a plane to get there. Otherwise, the Tates putting Carla in that school makes no sense at all to me. That was an aspect of the plot that I could not get over, the fact that they took this girl with what seems like a fairly mild learning disability and institutionalized her from the ages of, let's say, 9 to 21. It was like they dropped her off at the longest summer camp ever, and then we're just like, we'll see you when you're 21.
Apparently the school discourages parents from visiting? That's evil.
That is completely evil, totally immoral, totally impractical. No school would do that. Certainly not someone like Carla. The movie almost treats her the way Halloween treated Michael Myers. Michael did this terrible thing when he was a kid, and then they put him in an institution for his entire childhood. And that's what happens to Carla, but Carla didn't murder anybody. I didn't believe that a school like that would exist. This entire movie felt false and phony and contrived. I thought the acting was mostly dreadful. This was a very unpleasant experience for me. The one thing I will say is, Dear God is starting to look better and better and better. It's starting to look like a masterpiece to me, Peter.
Yes, it is the middle child between Exit to Eden and this.
I apologize to Dear God. I was too rough on you. I didn't know. And now I know, having seen The Other Sister. So, Peter, how can people keep up with us and find out about all the wonderful things that we are doing?
Listeners can follow us on Libsyn at thesedaysrehours.libsyn.com.
And they can email us with questions, comments, and concerns at thesedaysrehourspodcast@gmail.com. So, Peter, what do we have on the docket the next time we get together?
We've been through 3 high-profile disasters, both financial and critical, and I think it's fair to say that Garry Marshall really needs a hit. And what better way to do that than to reunite with the stars of his biggest hit, Pretty Woman?
So what's Julia Roberts like in real life? Is she just super cool and down to earth?
No, she is not.
And that's exactly what's going to happen in Runaway Bride.
Oh, Peter, I hope this one turns the tide. So, see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
76 salt cones in the country club, and 110 nice men named Levine. And there's more than 1,000 finks who parade around the links. It's a sight that really must be seen. 76 salt cones lead the big parade, with 109 Irv Kleins right behind. But the loveliest men I've known are the men they call salt cone at that good old country club of mine.
Tom Skerritt.